Hello, everybody. This is Linda DeVitas, owner and founder of healingsonthego.com. I am the host of Linda DeVitas, psychic clairvoyant medium, certified healer, Reiki healer, crystal healer, dolphin healer, professional space clearer, candle manifestation channeling, and a whole lot more. To find out what else and all the other services I do, please find me at healingsonthego.com. I would like to introduce my special guest, Matthew Pinyard, to the show. Welcome, Matthew. Yay!
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's nice to introduce you. And everyone, I've been raving about you because I can see right through you. You are Jim Morrison's twin. So people that don't know, he has a past life where he clearly remembers being Jim Morrison. And I can feel it through his eyes. He has his energy in him. And I wanted to ask you, how did you come to realize that you are practically, you had that lifetime?
Great question. So I was raised in a very, very strict religious background that looked at rock and roll music as only of the devil.
Wow.
And of course was forbidden from bringing that stuff into the home. So it made me more than ever want to delve into that arena. What happened was around the age of 16, 17, Oliver Stone did a movie called The Doors, which I actually was just watching. And I saw the movie. Something just said, I need to go see this movie. My mother was kind enough to take me there without telling my father. And I walked out of the movie just like, oh, Lord, I think I was that guy. There was just like deja vu. There was too many. And it wasn't just that. I knew the lyrics. Like I bought the CDs and I knew them. And I have this mole right here, which Jim had. And I used to have one right here, which he also had. And then I also have 3 moles right on the right side of my abdomen, which he had, and which I believe actually are psychic clairvoyant gifts. I'm also a psychic clairvoyant medium, as you know.
Yes, you're amazing.
Yeah, with your father. And so I think that gift ultimately comes from Orion. I think, there's more discussion nowadays. Like, for instance, Popular Mechanics just did an article about star seeds, and there's more discussion about this. I think right now we're still on the fringe. People are, probably going to call us crazy, probably going to call me. I've been called crazy for
join the club.
Yeah, exactly. But now here's the very undeniable correlations between Jim's life and mine. Is number one, I have the exact same middle name with 1 S, not 2. Wow. Number 2, this mole. Number 3, we're the exact same height physically.
Wow.
Number 4, you've heard me sing next to him, and
yes,
it's almost impossible to tell our vocal ranges apart. The other thing, though, that's more important than that to me is that I believe all of his lyrics were actually prophecies.
Wow.
And I think that they were actually not only telling us where the world would be 50 years after his quote unquote death, but who he would be and where he would be. And for example, he talks about where's the wine, the new wine dying on the vine. My last name in French means wine.
Wow.
And I've spent the last 16 years working in corporate America, which Jim would have called dying on the vine.
Which is right.
not an affectionate term. He would have hated that life. But the other thing that's really important, Linda, and being a psychic medium, you know this too. I recently, in the last couple of years, living out here in Arizona, was at a live concert with his guitarist who still plays, Robbie Krieger, and also John Densmore. And both of them in these 2 separate events where I just happened to be there, but they didn't know I was there. They actually made comments from the stage saying, "We know Jim's here tonight."
Wow, that's awesome. A quick hello to Anne and Ria. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and share. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. So I wanted to ask you, what does the rose symbolize?
So the rose in our Catholic faith, and I'll go into greater depth if you want me to about who I believe Jim was spiritually, but also who I am spiritually. Jim talked about us in terms of, he mentioned before my birth even, lurking jaws, joints in time.
Wow.
And that's how I see us. So I don't see this as a one guy lived, one guy died, one guy was reborn, one guy's now. I actually see this as 2 spirits, 2 sons of Mary in one body.
Wow.
So let me give some concrete examples of that.
Yeah.
And for instance, he would say in certain song lyrics, and he buried them beautifully in there, that anybody not understanding this would listen to them and just gloss over them because they wouldn't understand. So for example, he would say, please stop and you remember we were together, or we're reaching for death on the end of a candle, or the new wine reference. So he made a lot of references to being with somebody else. And if you actually listen to the track called Shaman's Blues, which I think is really great because you're doing a show on healing, and Jim ultimately wanted to be a shaman, wanted to be a healer, and I think he's doing that now.
Yes, he is.
So he wrote a song called Shaman's Blues, and if you listen to the track, I've just listened to it recently, you can actually hear two distinct voices on the track.
Wow.
So what I think what it was not a possession, but two sons of Mary in one body, knowing they were going to come back in a different body and telling everybody about the journey.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but for the purposes of not bringing fear, but belief and love and hope, and showing that death is a transition, which I think, if you look at any Buddhist faith, they would support that theory, right?
Yes.
I do believe multiple lives, multiple incarnations have happened to many people.
Exactly. So, I believe it too. And you're so lucky that you remember it, because a lot of people do not remember, and how you're drawn to him is amazing.
It's funny because, like I said, I was forbidden from listening to rock music. And the way a lot of people thought he was the devil, he got called the devil. He was not the devil. The way he died, they judge him for that, but he used substances to break on through. And he wrote about break on through to the other side, or light my fire. He was going through to get the message from the other kingdom, because he realized that, as a lot of other starseeds that I talked to recognize, this world is very dense, right? We have a very dense, demonic, fallen enemy right now that is gathering steam, money, power over the world.
That's right.
So making our lives difficult. You look at the state of the world with wars right now.
That's right.
That's something Jim and I would have railed against. So I do want to make that distinction with your audiences. In no way, shape, or form are Jim and I the devil, and we do not.
No way.
We do not pander to that side. We do not support that side.
Exactly.
If anything, we would love to subvert that side.
Exactly. And speaking of the lower dimensions, you had told me that you had experienced hell. Can you tell us more about that? That's so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I documented, and I now have an 8th book coming out.
Wow.
Around the time of my 3rd book, so what I've done is taken all of his lyrics, most of them, the ones that had relevance to this transition for him in life, and shown how they did become prophetic. But as my 3rd book was coming out, my wife, I was working in corporate America, and she came down, and I was in the living room kind of just rolling back and forth. And it was an attack. We had a cross fly across the house. We had a big, huge, heavy cross flew across the room twice. And I knew exactly what it was from my Catholic Christian upbringing. I knew it was an attack for the books.
Wow.
So Satan doesn't go after stuff that's not threatening, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That's why he was after you.
And Jim, and if you listen to all of Jim's lyrics, and even in the things I say in my books, there's 2 keys. And he talks about the keys of the kingdom are be, love, and believe, right?
Right.
So many people focus on commandments, or what's a mortal sin according to the Catholic Church, but they don't focus on, am I loving my neighbor? Am I believing in them? Am I loving my God? Am I believing in them? Am I loving the kingdom of heaven? And am I believing in it? Am I trying to do the things to bring that kingdom on earth? And so it was an attack. And so I don't remember as much. She found me kind of rocking and rolling, and I knew I was in a state of tremendous agitation. So people think of a literal hell. I do believe there are things like under the earth, but
yes,
hell can be a metaphysical, spiritual state, of agitation that can affect the body too.
Exactly, like psychic attack.
Well, also that, but I also think a lot of, I've been in the medical surgical sales industry for many years, and I believe a lot of like degenerative diseases have a component of a spiritual attack.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. And especially when you're going up, that's when they attack you even more.
Some of the healing, so Jim wanting to be a shaman in my 8th book, some of the healings we have put forth certain people that have given us permission to put them forth to the other kingdom for healing, their organ will show up in the sky and their initials.
Wow,
And
that's
then it will
amazing.
show, it will show the organ cleared of the disease. My father is for anybody that thinks this is quackery, my father is a great example. He had diagnosed terminal kind of emphysema COPD, and I did this for him. Sure enough, a giant B appeared in the skies. That's his first initial, and then lungs that were cleared. And he went back to the doctor and got a totally normal bill of health.
Yes, and for those that don't know, you're an amazing reader. He read my dad, and I really recommend him. Definitely. I mean, I do the same work, but I always give credit where credit is due. And it was amazing how I saw you send me his initials and he picked up the motorcycle. And I was like, wow, you're amazing.
Thank you. It's happened so many times now that I'm trying to find a way to be able to do this full time, not because I don't think I'll ever be wealthy from this. I don't know if I'll even be able to pay my mortgage, but to me, it's like a more of a universe calling. Like, if you're given this gift and you're not using it, something's wrong with you.
Exactly. And everyone has bills, so don't feel bad.
Right.
I feel bad sometimes to charge too, but unfortunately, we don't all live for free. We have to pay our bills and we have so much debts and stuff. So it's a gift for a reason. So
yes.
God bless you, because you're amazing with the pictures. And anyone that wants a reading with him is awesome. The pictures that you see in the sky, and you really connect with the other side too. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I'll give a brief example. I had a lady that her husband had passed from COVID, and she asked if I could contact him. And so his initial appeared with wings. And I told her like 4 things, and they to any normal human being, they would have not made any sense. But she messaged me 3 days later, which is a, kind of a holy significant number, 3 days, yes. Jesus rose. So go back to your question about rose, that's the rising of Christ after 3 days of the crucifixion. But in any event, she said, you're not going to believe this, but all those 4 things you told me happened to me today.
See, you're amazing.
Well,
you have a lot of archangels around you.
Yeah, well, and the angels, and then our departed loved ones that are with those angels can reach back to us and say, they can literally see ahead of time, as you know, and they literally can see past hurts and then help us heal from those psychically or empathically or emotionally.
Exactly. And tell us about the Lizard King. A lot of people don't know what the Lizard King is.
Yeah, so Jim made reference to himself as being that many times on stage.
Yes.
And in many recordings. And again, that was his brilliance. So to anybody that didn't understand him or where he was from, that would have sounded like, is this guy the devil? Is he the king of the lizard people?
Yeah, exactly.
And the quite opposite is true. So he and I have been afforded the opportunity to cast these things out. So being the Lizard King means you can throw these fallen entities out of people that are agitating, demonically possessing, reptilian attack, or whatever you want to call that demon. Mm-hmm. We can cast them out. And I have so to support that claim, I know a lot of people can claim that, but to support that claim in my books, I have actual photos of after an exorcism, like the actual entity in the sunset. And you can see it's scowling, it's pissed.
Wow.
It did not want to give up that human host.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, absolutely. So many of those photos are in my books, and you can see their goatees, and people are like, I see the horns, I see the eyes, I see. Yeah, so this is not pseudoscience at all. You are on the right path. Anybody doing this kind of, I've heard the term light worker.
Yes.
Or energy worker. A lot of people can tap into this. I'm not saying I am the only person on earth that can do these things. I'd prefer that all of mankind be doing these things.
I know, that would be nice.
Because you realize that it's going to raise our vibration. And, as all of us, I don't care what's in your bank account. If the clinically demented guy overseas presses a certain button, right, that affects all of us, right? So
exactly.
What can you and I do? We can only raise the vibration, right? And drive the fallen out, or drive the lower energy out.
That's right. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back right after these messages. Hi, I am Linda DeVitis. I am a psychic, clairvoyant medium, and certified healer. I have also written a book, My Journey from Darkness to the Light, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and on my website, www.healingsonthego.com. If you would like to book an appointment with me, call me at 917-929-4935. Thank you.
All right. Wild child, full of grace, savior of the human race, your cool face. Natural child, terrible child, not your mother's or your father's child, you're our child, screaming wild. An ancient lunatic reigns in the trees of the night. With hunger at her heels, freedom in her eyes, she dances on her knees. Pirate prince at her side, staring into a hollow idol's eye. Wild child, full of grace, savior of the human race, your cool face, your cool face, your true face. You remember when we were in Africa?
What is Optimum's greatest?
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back with my special guest, Matthew Pinyard. Yay! That was you singing, right?
That was me singing over
Amazing.
Jim. And as you can tell, there's very, very tonal similarities.
Yes.
But there's so many buried things in that song right there that talk about the transition from him into me. And he talks about wild child, full of grace, savior of the human race. So not your wild child. I was pretty wild as a kid. Terrible child was called the terrible child at times. But he talks about the pirate prince at her side. So that's really intriguing to me, because when I started piecing all this together and started writing the books, I was at a Catholic church in Michigan where I lived. And it's so fascinating because the back of the church looks like a pirate prince.
Wow.
So it was a statue of Jesus after the resurrection. So it's a veiled reference that Jim and I serve that kingdom, and we are not of the kingdom of darkness. And that really is, that song is beautiful to me because it talks about it. To me, that's where Jim really put his immortality in his next life. And I really do. I'm not the only one that believes this. There's a woman I was in touch with in Wisconsin, and she's like, "No, he was a prophet, man. That guy's immortal."
Exactly.
Some people get this, but they still don't take those lyrics and understand that these things had literal significance later in life. So Jim was not only clairvoyant, but he was. Imagine, Linda, if you were able to come up with a poem that told the United States of America 50 years later exactly where it would be, and you were correct. That's the kind of power we're talking about that he had.
Wow.
And you don't get that if you're channeling Satan, right?
Exactly. There are a lot of skeptics in this world.
Like, I see the planet in flames from nuclear war, right?
That's
No,
so
I mean,
funny.
right. But some people don't get this. And so, Jim was the devil to them because they didn't understand it. And
Exactly.
we fear
Anne
what we
says,
don't
you
understand.
sound just like him, she says, which is true.
I've
Thank
been
you,
told
Anne.
that. I've been told that. And, for me, coming out with these books, obviously, there's a lot of fear about being called crazy or marginalized, but being in the same room as his old bandmates and having them say what they did was enough. It was all the validation. And I already knew it. I knew it when I saw the movie. And some of those things in the movie didn't actually happen. They were dramatized to make him look like he straddled the fence with the demon world. But this was a light worker, and he was a subverter. He knew exactly how to subvert that demonic level in a way that really pissed Satan off. And that's why ultimately I believe that's why he died. It wasn't because of his lifestyle. It's because he put something out there called an American prayer that when you decode that thing, and I do in the books, it's our future as a race.
Exactly. That's amazing that you have. After the next commercial break, we'll show the pictures. But right now, I wanted to ask you how Jim was very spiritual himself. So can you tell us a few examples?
Yeah. So I can't speak to the amount. He definitely did the psychedelics. And at that time in the 60s, that was normal, Nowadays we kind of marginalize those people, and we say that they could not be, we call them mentally ill, or they need help. They need, right?
They always have to say that.
Honestly, I believe that those psychedelics helped him crack into that realm where he needed to receive, number one, who he was and why he was here. Number two, downloads from Mary. And he references Mother Mary multiple times, and he does it in a very beautiful and veiled and subtle way. And he calls her Passion Lady. And he does this in Roadhouse Blues multiple times. Passion Lady, give up your vows. So what he's saying is, save our city right now. So he's saying, Mary, look at our city. Look where it's headed. Give up your vows to save it. So very subversive, but subversive in a major spiritual way, but total light worker in an industry that now clearly has been taken over by demonism, right? We all saw the Grammys.
For sure.
Right? So he understood the threat.
Crazy.
He understood the threat of that industry, and people were dying around him like Janis and Jimi Hendrix. And he even said publicly, I'm going to be number 3. So almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. But what he did do before he went out and came back was he put down an American prayer.
Wow.
And that's just it. Had he been on the side of darkness, he would have called it an American satanic ritual.
Exactly.
Right?
Sing some more. You have a beautiful voice, just like you.
Wild child, full of grace, savior of the human race. But I want everybody
Beautiful.
to understand. I want you all to believe that you are that wild child too. Because Linda, you are from this king. You would not have these gifts if you weren't from the same kingdom as me.
Thank you.
Your viewers would not be tuning in right now if they didn't sense something within them that they said, well, how do I learn clairvoyance and psychic ability and prophecy and healing, right?
Exactly. That's true.
And
That's
look
amazing.
how much, I've come from this industry. Look how much we spend per year on medications and hospitals and yeah, my theory is that some of this stuff can be cleared up with the right alignment, right?
Exactly. And too bad a lot of, sometimes like people believe money is the root of all evil because you look what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's a shame. We're, the healers are here to heal, but we're very, too bad. There's a few of us, so we're here to uplift the vibration.
And I don't know if I can make a comment on that. Let's just hypothetically say I'm somebody worth $300 billion. And then I go to Halloween and publicly I'm wearing a Satan costume and an upside down cross. And then I'm talking about, I want you to put X, Y, and Z inside your body that has a modem and a router. Let's draw look, I don't need to get into
exactly. I know what
publicly
you're saying.
ruining the show, but let's let's use some common sense here. And let's understand what God said about our bodies as being temples. And let's understand there are nefarious agendas out there that want to control us and silence things like connections that you and I are talking about right now. So, for example, real quick, there's a gentleman out there who has a lot of books, more books sold than I do. And he is advocating saying that humans are now hackable animals and the days of praying to a God in the clouds are over.
Oh my goodness.
Now I don't know any time in history where somebody can say that that's where we're headed and then enforce it, because last time I checked, it's still we the people, right?
Exactly.
And one nation under God, right?
Exactly.
So I want everyone to understand that Jim's story is mine and that we do not serve that agenda.
Exactly.
Please understand that we are not here to endorse anything that goes on, in these Super Bowl halftime shows or Grammys or whatever. What we are here to endorse is people tapping into their higher selves, their higher keys, which we gave you the keys. I'm gonna do this instead of this, right?
Right. That would make you popular.
Right. I know. Then I'd sell books.
Exactly. That's so funny. Jim, they assume because they figure, oh, he's on drugs. Drugs is related to, you know what I mean? So that's why they make assumptions. But I believe he knew deeper, like you said, and he knew more about things than they thought. Like
the other thing about Jim and myself and Jim, if you look at our high school yearbooks, it's very interesting because we have the same part in the hair. It looks identical, only it goes the opposite direction.
Wow.
So remember, he said lurking jaws, joints in time. My opinion is he was the left jaw and I'm the right jaw. So my part went to the right.
Wow.
We were both given things. So he was given an American prayer. And in my first book, I put the bookend to that poem in my own words. But the other thing is that we serve the true king and we serve Mary. And I mentioned there's a beautiful painting inside the old mission in Santa Barbara that shows 3 suns hovering above Mary's head.
Wow.
And if you believe my theory is that Miguel Cabrera, the beautiful painter, got a glimpse of something that was coming.
Wow.
And that held a lot of weight. Now, I'm not trying to put myself as a new Christ. I think there's a lot of danger in that. But what I am saying is that we do serve that kingdom more so than the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of greed and war.
That's true. And tell us about Jim's poem. I was reading your book, which I highly recommend people getting.
Yeah, so I took some notes if you don't mind. So there's a number of things that he put as references that were highly encoded prophecies and also time markers for myself to hit. So he talks about, number one, I told you there's a lyric, please stop and you remember we were together. He knew I would have trouble remembering it.
Wow.
Because this world is so fallen and I had a whole new life and, all the stressors that we go through in life. Yeah. But he's saying, stop and remember, you were with me. And that's why you know these lyrics. That's why.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's like a brother saying, wait a second, we're together like this forever. He also mentioned we're reaching for death on the end of a candle. Before I even put that one together, I was going into a church and didn't realize I was putting my hands over a candle when I prayed. And you've seen some of the photos of what came from that. It literally conjured angels from the other kingdom. Even Mary, I have photos of Mary. I have photos of the Christ that was crucified. He talks about weird signs inside the gold mine. Wow. That is so prophetic because that's right where we are right now, right?
Exactly.
So we're talking about, I just recently read there's over 800 billionaires now just in America.
Wow.
You know, you think about that, and then there's people like us. I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage next month kind of people.
I
And
know.
that's a weird scene. Like, where's the humanity, you know?
Exactly.
The other thing he talked about is when the true king's murderers are allowed to roam free, 1,000 magicians arise in the land. So this is a really good thing for especially people that are doing what you're doing. So he understood, if you recognize Jim and I as twin sons of Mary or kings of the other kingdom, we've been murdered. So Jim was falsely convicted in Miami of crimes that nobody saw him do. I've been falsely accused of things that I knew I didn't do. So that's demonic, trying to drag down.
Of course.
But what he's saying is, when that happens, we can do this transfer of authority to other people in the kingdom, like Linda, like other light workers. For example, you know, they said when Christ died, his spirit went into 144,000.
Wow.
And that's the whole point, is to try to get everybody in this wavelength that is healing, that is prophecy, that is recognizing. The biggest thing right now is, you know, I have a lot of friends that don't recognize evil and the little footprints, the little handprints of evil, right? I don't know a time in history when somebody said, by law, you need to have a vaccine, or you need to have a vaccine to have a job.
Yes.
But we're there. We're there. Trust me, we're there.
Yeah, we are. That's what they did here in New York.
And
but many lost their jobs because of that.
And I had a cousin my age, healthier than I am, that, I'm not saying this is directly correlated, but it was interesting. After the third shot, went down to work out on his exercise bike, fell over dead from a fatal brain.
Oh my God. That's so
And
scary.
there's story after story after story.
Oh yeah.
So my point is, you know, let's take the blinders off.
Exactly.
Let's see, like everything in history, where's the profit behind all of this agenda? Exactly.
People need to wake up.
Jim used to say, they've got the guns, but we've got the numbers.
Exactly.
Now,
That's
I'm
true.
not on here advocating violence. However, I am advocating for our laws to function in the way they were properly constructed to do.
Exactly.
We have legislative bodies and criminal justice systems that are supposed to protect us.
That's right.
From things that we didn't dial up, right? Or order up.
Exactly. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and we will be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned, everybody. Hi, I am Linda DeVitis. I am a psychic, clairvoyant medium, and certified healer. I have also written a book, My Journey from Darkness to the Light, which is available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and on my website, www.healingsonthego.com. If you would like to book an appointment with me, call me at 917-929-4935. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back with my special guest, Matthew Pinard. Yay! It's so nice to have you on.
The honor is all mine, and I can't thank you enough, because honestly, you know, I shared with you privately, and what you want to share with your audience is up to you. But we got some ridiculous, amazing signs in the skies that this needed to happen, right?
Yes.
So my brother, my half brother, James, his initials were in the skies above my roof, JDM, with a giant angel going like this.
Wow.
So yeah, and we can prove that with photos. So
exactly.
Yes.
And that's the beautiful thing. When you do readings, you have beautiful pictures you send. I saw my father's initials, which is awesome.
That was
Yeah,
Great day, right?
it is. It was. And you picked him up totally because blue's his favorite color. And he's blue on the other side, plus his motorcycle. When he passed away, he was still riding it. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't argue anymore with this gift, and it's funny because sometimes I'll get the vision and I'll be like, "Oh my God, you really want me to send that? I'm gonna be found out as a fraud." And then I send it to them, and they're like, "How could you know that?"
Yes, you're very, very gifted. God bless you.
Oh,
Let's show
as
the
are you.
pictures. There
Yeah.
you go. You and your wife.
Who does look like Jim's girlfriend, by the way, which is funny. And there's Jim with the same smile and the same mole.
Yes. There he is.
Yeah, it's pretty. I've tried to deny it. I really have, because a lot of people loved him, but a lot of people thought he was, crazy and out there. And I can't deny it anymore. It's just the truth.
It is. And I can feel it through you. Some people say, well, how do you know? I said, I can feel his energy. So,
And the voice. I mean, I was blessed with his
and your
singing voice.
voice and a lot of things.
Yeah. And I wish I could tell you there's going to be a tour, but it's not going to be with me probably singing. So
he's going to come through. Yeah, because you do have his voice. So that's amazing. And tell us about his song, The End.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big one right there. So let me real quick dial up those lyrics. There's so much layered prophecy within that. For example, he talks about, hold on one second, let me pull that up.
And I'll say quickly, thank you everybody for tuning in. Please do like and share. Thank you, everyone. And I think your wife, Cheryl, she says hello, Matthew.
Oh, hello.
Welcome.
Carol's on? Oh, wow.
Hi, Tony. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, so the end lyrics were highly prophetic, highly. So he's literally, number one, he's explaining not only where the world will be when this all came to fruition. And I talk about in my first book, there was a moment where Mary appeared that fulfilled a prophecy from 95 AD called the woman clothed with the sun. So what he's saying is when this apparition would occur, it would kick off the apocalypse. Okay. Wow. The apocalypse, a lot of us consider that the end. And I know there's a lot of fear about this, like who's going to be raptured? Will there be a rapture? Is the end apocryphal? Is it really apocalyptic, meaning no human's going to be left surviving on the earth? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things in Revelations that are now coming to light exactly the way Revelation talked about it. But Jim is a prophet definitely for this song. And he talks about the end of our elaborate plans. So that elaborate plan, again, is the death, the reincarnation, the visitation of the mother, Mary, to tell me that, yes, this is who you were. You weren't crazy. You bought all those CDs. He talks about, the end. He says the end of everything that stands. Now, you could definitely read into that. Think about how many structures we have standing. Yeah. Think about how many earthquakes and volcanoes are happening today. Think about how many near-miss asteroid strikes we've had, right? And he talks about desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land. So he talks about this end times being, you're going to find more comfort shaking somebody you don't know's hand.
Exactly.
And saying, are you feeling this too? Are you feeling like the world's going to, and it's happened to me almost daily. So he's saying, like, friends and family are going to abandon you because you might believe something they don't. But everybody, we're kind of right here with, oh no, everything's okay. Super Bowl.
Exactly.
We're not seeing like China's about to go into Taiwan and a third world war and all that, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
He talks again about the weird scenes inside the gold mine. Then this is really interesting. He talks about riding a snake to an ancient lake, and he talks about the snake being 7 miles long. So I utterly got that right away. And it's the snake's skin is cold. What he's talking about is when I figured out he and I were the same, if you add it up, when I figured it out, the age I was and the age he died, it equaled 70.
Wow.
So 7 miles. Also, a lot of doctors and such have touched my feet and said, why are your feet cold? So he knew exactly what the incarnation, the body would be like and feel like and be like. And he's saying ride the snake to the ancient lake. So when I first started this series, I was living right next to Lake Michigan, which is an ancient glacier lake.
Wow.
So he saw all these things perfectly. And it's really beautiful. The killer awoke before dawn. He put his boots on. When I was in the military, I did 4 years in the Army. I worked in the JAG. We had a guy that killed his wife, and when he killed her, he put his Army boots on.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Right. So, Linda, as you know, like you get these things sometimes in piecemeal.
Yes.
Like I was just listening to your conversation prior about, your producer going to a body of water, and I'll throw that stuff out there, and they'll be like, no, I don't know what you're talking. Then like a day later, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to the lake today.
You see, unconsciously.
Because we kind of see ahead of time, right? Or we see, what you'll realize is when you go to heaven is that time is actually an illusion.
It is.
And there's no greater example of that than Jim's life to mine. Because can you explain somebody that saw their next life perfectly and said, here's where I'll be in 50 years. Here's also where all of y'all will be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's somebody that's really tied up to a high power, right? And not the demon that, he was claimed to have in him. So the other thing that I'll mention is it hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me. The end of laughter, the end of soft lies, the end of names we tried to hide. So he's talking about, I hate to try to set you free, world, but I'm going back there because I did my job. I told you about the rules, and I told you about the keys, and I told you about what was going to happen. And names we tried to hide was both he and I, we understood that by delivering these messages, we would be persecuted by even the closest people to us, even people that we work with, even law enforcement that falsely accuse of things. So he's trying to say, look, I'm out of here. I tried.
Exactly.
This is the end. I have to go back. I did my best.
And what is the purple glove?
The purple glove. So that was amazing. So he buried that one in an American prayer. And he said, he always uses we or we are, which again denotes two, right?
Wow.
And it's kind of funny because if my wife is listening to this, so I used to live in Michigan, which is the glove state.
Wow.
With a purple glove, I worked for a celebrity, and he had a theater company there called the Purple Rose. Again, Rose, right?
Wow.
So Jim saw that I would be working there. And it's kind of funny because after I worked there and I met my wife, we were taking a trip in a northern part of Michigan, and we were in a kind of a hostel or like a bed and breakfast. And this is the funniest thing because, take me to the shrink couch for this, but she hates Jim Morrison and the Doors.
Really? Oh my God, that's a shocker.
And but this is why this is so relevant is the next morning after we got there, she wakes up and she looks over at the bed and she goes, oh my God, you look just like Jim Morrison.
Well,
and another example was I went through a coffee shop here in Prescott Valley, and the girl goes, oh my God, you look like that guy Jim Morrison.
Wow, you see.
So this is not of my own delusion, right? This is not of my own construct. There's been more than one people, and including his bandmates, that sense that this is truth.
Yes, it is. Wow, that's amazing.
But for a reason of goodness, for a reason of light, not for a reason of we're trying to entrap you in demonism and darkness.
Exactly.
At all.
Unfortunately, that's how they probably saw him because, they assume.
They thought the lyrics were, they didn't understand the lyrics. His bandmates have sensed there was a darkness around. Now, I fully admit there was a darkness around the band trying to break it up because Satan knew right away who this guy was. Mm-hmm. And he said, I got to derail this because this guy's giving away all the secrets.
He has a big mouth.
Right. Like in gang warfare, I got to take this guy out. He's narking on me.
That's horrible.
Yeah. And Jim also called those things lions of the night. So He talks lots in his poetry and his lyrics about lions in the street and roaming, rabid heat, rabid foaming. So he's talking about demons, but he portrays them as lions of the night. So we know demons are fallen angels. So they are lions in that they originally came from the Lion of Judah, but they are now of the night.
Wow.
And now they're wreaking havoc on the earth. And now people like us, we get sent back to try to kabush this, you know?
Exactly. And sing Passion Lady. We love hearing your voice.
Oh my God. I love Roadhouse Blues. I love that song. So keep your eye on the road, your hands upon the wheel. Going to the roadhouse, gonna have a good time, yeah. Passion lady, give up your vows, save our city right now.
Awesome. You really sound exactly like him. It's amazing.
There's a lot of things I do lie about. This isn't one of them.
No, why would I mean? Some people say, yeah, but I'm telling them, I'm like, watch my show. He's amazing.
It's the truth. I mean, you're born 3 years after him, and you go and buy his CDs and all. Why do I know these lyrics?
Exactly. You have a lot of deja vus. What other ones did you remember?
That's a great question. So in my books, I did have a very personal visit from Mary, and you can see her in my books in the photo on my third book. The cover of my book is her in the veil, wow. And she gave me so many downloads, and it was so comforting because so many people, like Jim said in the song Shaman's Blues, which I'll do at the end here if you want. Yes, but that also talks about the transition. And he talks about, you can hear my voice actually on the recording say, you'll be dead and in hell before I'm born.
Wow.
So what she did was she illuminated, you had this life before I sent you to be with this family. And like, imagine being an adult. So try to think about this. So, I was watching the Truman Show the other day, and it's so telling about how we live in this world now where we think, nope, I was just born here and now I'm raised and everybody's watching me and I'm on social media and this is my one life and I got to get it right. And it wasn't the case at all. Imagine taking an adult human body and putting it in a baby. And ultimately, that was kind of the joke I think that God was doing. Was I'm going to take this crazy rock star and put it in this baby and see what happens. But on that note, there's the Bible passage from the mouths of babes. And I have a 6-year-old niece right now that is saying things that only could be said by an adult.
Wow.
And, on that note, if I can mention this, the University of Virginia, for anybody that doesn't believe in reincarnation, they're doing reincarnation studies there, and I've sent my books to them. But they have actual cases where guy died, let's say he died from a gunshot wound, and there's still the wound in his cheek, and the baby will be born with that wound on its cheek.
Wow. Yeah, it's cell memory. That's what it's called.
Correct.
Cell memory. Correct. And you get it all over, his marks will come to you, and yeah, definitely.
So I've taken photos of my lip structure and then this mole and then, Jim's and sent it to people. And can you tell the difference? And they're like, it looks kind of like twin brothers or.
Yes, you do. It's amazing for you to be so drawn to him. I tell, you feel it and you remember it and your voice. So it can't be just, some people could say, oh, it's a coincidence. It's no coincidence. It's a fact.
Yeah. And please understand too, like, we've done exorcisms. Yes. I have multiple photos of Satan himself in the sky here in Arizona. Wow. And I was given a 3-line poem of how to get that to happen. So do we dance in that realm? We do it only with the intention of freeing you. We do not do it with the intention of let's play on the other side and see if we can get more money and fame out of it. That ultimately was why Jim left that industry. because he saw immediately, I can lose my soul here. You know, and anybody trying to dance in that industry now, you listen to multiple celebrities are coming out now saying,
Yes.
to get this career, I had to drink blood. I had to do a sacrifice. I had to watch this. I had to do this horrific thing. And that's not the realm that Jim and I are wanting to play in any regard ever.
Exactly.
So we're here with you. We're in the fight. You know, I'm struggling to pay bills just like you. You know, if a nuke goes off, it affects you like me. So think of us as we're on the front lines with you.
Exactly. That's very true. We're not here to spread the darkness.
Yeah.
And I believe that they say when you pass on, you attract what dimension, like what vibration you're on. So some people, that's where they see those, they fall into the lower dimensions where it's fear, guilt, and all. They say you put yourself there. Now, whether you suffer eternally, I don't know, but I do believe we come back and do our life all over again, pick different lessons. And that way, you know, we can try again, try to learn the lessons that we didn't get. We come back and do another. It's like our soul is picking stages. Okay, in this life, I'm going to be one thing and the other. So it's amazing.
That's a really good point because, you know, if you look at Jim's life, some might say, well, he was part of the 27 Club and he's probably in hell. And no,
Crazy.
he got a second chance.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't make those same mistakes again. I wouldn't. Now, going to a concert with my old bandmates are playing and loving the music and putting my arm around them and letting them sense that I'm there, that's a beautiful moment.
Yes.
That's not me signing my soul over to anything. I'd be the first one right now to tell anybody right now that's trying to break into that. Now, I talk to young people all the time that are starseeds, and they're like, I want to be famous. I want to. Really? Do you want to know what
exactly
what the cost is of that? And I would tell anybody right now that has obscene wealth or obscene fame, this is not the journey, and I wouldn't choose it again.
I don't blame you. And do you know that the hour flew by as usual? I knew it would, but I wanted to ask, like, where can people find you?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I am trying to sell books because I think it will help people, but also, you know, I do want to do this full time and be able to travel and heal. Matthew Douglas Pinard, just as you see my name, Matthew with 2 T's, Douglas with 1 S, and then PINARD.com or MatthewPinardAuthor.com.
Awesome. And for me, you all know healingsonthego.com and your Facebook, Matthew Pinard. They could find you there as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, it was such an honor and pleasure.
I can't thank you enough. And it really is a beautiful discussion. And I hope people really take this to heart because it really can transform you.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you, Matthew, so much for being on. It's a real honor and pleasure.
The pleasure and honor is all on this end.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome anytime. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You can find his book right here. This is his book, In the Key of Belief. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please do like and share. God bless each and every one of you. And hopefully, Matthew, you will be on again.
Anytime. Absolutely.
Awesome. Have a great night, everybody. And thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.